I often find myself marveling at the sheer audacity of those early European explorers. Imagine, if you will, setting sail across an unknown ocean, driven by dreams of wealth, power, and the promise of a new world. It's a tale of courage, ambition, and, yes, often ruthless conquest. But it's also the beginning of a remarkable story, the story of colonial America. Now, let's consider the year 1492. Columbus, that controversial figure, sets off on his first voyage. But he's not alone in this great adventure, you see. There's John Cabot claiming North America for England, Jacques Cartier pushing into the St. Lawrence River, and we mustn't overlook Henry Hudson, searching for that elusive Northwest Passage. These men, driven by a mixture of curiosity, greed, and a quest for glory, they changed the course of history. But at what cost? The impact on indigenous populations was devastating. Displacement, disease, conflict. It's a dark shadow that looms over the bright tales of discovery. As exploration gives way to colonization, we see the first tentative steps towards permanent European settlement. Jamestown, 1607, a year that would prove pivotal. These early colonists, they weren't conquering heroes, you know. They were often desperate, hungry heroes, you know. They were often desperate, hungry heroes, you know. They were often desperate, hungry. And what are the people who already called this land home? Prepared for the challenges that awaited them. And what are the people who already called this land home? The encounters between Europeans and indigenous populations. It's a complex web of cooperation, conflict, and tragic misunderstanding. Fascinating, isn't it? As we move into the 17th and early 18th centuries, we see the gradual emergence of what would become the 13 colonies, each with its own character, its own purpose. The New England colonies founded in search of religious freedom, though one might wonder, freedom for whom exactly? Then there are the middle colonies, a patchwork of different cultures drawn by economic opportunities. And in the South, we find colonies built on the back of agricultural expansion. And let's not shy away from it, the brutal institution of slavery. It's a diverse picture, isn't it? Each region developing its own distinct identity. Now let's peek into the daily lives of these colonial Americans. It's a world of hard work and resourcefulness. Large families, early marriages. Life expectancy wasn't what it is today, you see. Social customs varied widely between colonies, influenced by the diverse backgrounds of the settlers. But amidst this diversity, something fascinating is happening. A unique colonial identity is beginning to emerge. It's a slow process, mind you, but it's there, in the way people speak, the clothes they wear, the food they eat. It's the first glimmerings of what will one day become American culture. The economy of colonial America. Now there's a subject to sink our teeth into. At its heart, it's an agrarian society. But don't be fooled, it's far from simple. There are cash crops in the South, tobacco, rice, indigo. In the North, shipbuilding and trade are becoming increasingly important. And then there's the complex web of trade routes. Goods flowing to and from Europe, Africa, and the Caribbean. It's the infamous triangular trade, of course, inextricably linked with the horrors of the slave trade. A stark reminder, isn't it, of the dark underpinnings of colonial prosperity. Religion, such a fundamental part of colonial life, and yet so varied in its expression. In New England, we find the stern-faced Puritans seeking to build their city upon a hill. But they're not the only ones seeking religious freedom, you know. There are Quakers in Pennsylvania, Catholics in Maryland, Anglicans in Virginia. And what about those who don't fit neatly into these categories? The dissenters, the freethinkers? It's a time of great religious ferment, you see. The Great Awakening is just around the corner, ready to shake the foundations of colonial society. As we move deeper into the 18th century, colonial America is experiencing a population boom. It's not just natural growth. There's a steady stream of immigrants arriving, each bringing their own customs and traditions. The colonies are becoming more diverse, more complex. But with growth comes challenges. There's pressure to expand westward, leading to increasing tensions with Native American tribes. And within colonial society itself, social hierarchies are becoming more entrenched. It's a time of change, of growing pains. The colonies are no longer in their infancy, but they're not yet ready for independence. And so we come to the final chapter of our colonial story, the seeds of revolution. It's a period of growing tension with Great Britain. Issues of taxation, representation, and trade restrictions are causing increasing resentment. The colonists are developing a sense of themselves as distinct from their British cousins. As we close our journey through colonial America, we're left with a complex legacy. It's a story of courage and cruelty, of freedom and oppression, of grand visions and harsh realities. The experiences of these colonial years would shape the nation that was to come, for better and for worse. And isn't that, after all, the essence of history? Not a simple tale of heroes and villains, but a rich, messy, endlessly fascinating human story.